Good morning and welcome to Coffee Break with Riverside County Child Support Services. My name is Nathan Hartel, Deputy Director, and with me this morning is...
I'm Bruce Wagner. I'm the Chief Attorney here at the Department of Child Support Services, and this is our fourth podcast. And today we are going to talk about how the Department of Child Support Services impacts the community, and this is a little bit of a departure from our first three podcasts.
That's right, and I think what's great about this topic for us, Bruce, is that while the Department of Child Support Services and the work that we do with our customers is impactful, really what we're going to be talking about today is the role of parents, and both parents providing support for the children and the influence and the impact that can have on the lives of their kids.
And there are a lot of things that happen when child support is flowing between the two parents, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. But let's start off with the importance of having both parents in the lives of their children, not just being parents, but the financial part of it, which is a big part of what we do.
It is, and so as we talk about the importance of children having the support of both parents, I'm going to throw something out there, just make a comment as I'm thinking about it. I recognize that by saying that, we could have some of our customers or a member of the listening public have just that statement about support of both parents get an emotional reaction. So we recognize that, we understand that, we have been in the child support profession for a long time, and we recognize that there are many, many situations where both parents are not actively involved. So we're not bringing this topic up to ruffle any feathers or anything like that, but we are bringing it up to shine a light on the tremendous impact that children receive when both parents are involved. And so I want to share some information about what that is.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, this is not coming from myself or Bruce. This is information that comes from the 2017 United States Census Bureau report on income and poverty in California. And one of the things that report shares is that when children have the support of both parents, there are stronger relationships forming and stronger bonds between their parents. That might seem kind of common sense, but think about the reality of those home situations and that family life when both parents are not involved. That report also tells us that those kids are going to experience greater financial and emotional security throughout their life. They're going to do better in school, and children who have parental support are likely to have better health as adults as well. So those are pretty sobering statistics, and when you think about them outside just a piece of information, and you think about that in the terms of raising kids and the role that child support services might have in helping parents, it's really, really important to recognize that both parents being involved is so key.
Yeah, and those statistics that you just talked about are very interesting in the sense that they really don't have anything to do with paying money or one parent paying another parent, one parent receiving money. These are things that happen because of that financial support that most people aren't aware of.
Absolutely, and it really is, it's about involvement. And while some people might not think about the Department of Child Support Services as being, providing a service that helps parents be involved more, but it really is. And one of the things that we train our staff to do is be receptive, sensitive, and caring, and just aware of the different family situations and dynamics that exist so that they can take the time to listen to our customers, listen to whichever parent may have the children in their care, whichever parent may be ordered to pay support, and whichever one may be receiving support. We're there to really to listen and to provide information, and hopefully through that we are playing a role in helping parents both provide support for their kids.
Absolutely. And it's interesting as well to note just how many families are impacted by the Department of Child Support Services here in Riverside. I think countywide, it's somewhere in the area of 82,000 families that are impacted by the work that we do here at the Department of Child Support Services.
Yeah, it's a staggering number, and if we take that and kind of back it up a couple different levels and go from the county that you just mentioned to the state and then nationally, there are 14.7 million children in the nation served by the Child Support Program.
And to put that in perspective, that's 1 in 5 children in the United States that are impacted by the Department of Child Support Services.
And that statistic stays the same for California. So California as a state serves 1.2 million, which is also 1 in 5 children. So the number of children receiving support through the child support program is a tremendous amount. Now, if you think about that in comparison to other programs.
So in the grand scheme of things, the Department of Child Support Services actually ranks number 3 among all the programs in the United States that assist children.
That's correct. And to help our listeners realize their role in that statistic, you have to remember that the child support program is not using its own funds to provide support to families. This is money collected and distributed by and through the child support program, but it's paid by the parents.
Yes.
So that statistic is significant because this is directly speaking to the parents that we serve.
Indeed it is.
This is their financial support being given to their kids, and it's in such a large amount that it is second and third only to Medicaid and food stamps.
That's right. And on top of all that, the Department of Child Support Services is one of the most cost-effective programs out there. So we're not impacting the taxpayer like many other programs are that assist children.
That is correct. And one of the other important benefits of the child support program, and I'm not sure if you knew this, Bruce, but child support accounts for about half of the average income of low-income parents who are receiving child support. So think about that. As a parent with an open child support case, about half of your income is coming from and dependent on the child support that we collect as an agency and send out. That's pretty impactful to think about.
That really is, and that just backs up the point that the involvement of both parents is so crucial to the lives of their children.
You know, I didn't really think about this too much until I would say the last few years. It really struck me that child support services is actually one of the largest anti-poverty programs in the nation. And I think that many people don't think about us in that way. But according to the Administration for Children and Families and the Office of Child Support Enforcement, child support lifts more than 1 million people out of poverty annually across the nation.
That's incredible.
So people who are already in a state of poverty, they're lifted out of that through the child support that's collected and distributed to families. And in addition to that, there's another 790,000 children who would have been considered poor had they not received child support. That's a huge benefit to families.
That is a huge benefit. And in terms of actual dollars, nationwide, $32 billion, over $32 billion is collected by state child support programs. In California, that number is $2.6 billion.
That's a lot of money, and that's going back to those things that we kind of started our episode with, talking about kids who have the support of their families doing better in school, better relationships with their parents, greater financial and emotional security. That's all connected to that number.
And I think the most important point of all of these statistics, these numbers, these percentages, is that this is not money that the Department of Child Support Services or the government hands out to families. This is actually money one parent sends to another parent. So I just want to say thank you to all of those parents who are making a difference in their children's lives.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that gives us a really good opportunity to take some of these numbers and bring it to Riverside County level. So we have been talking a lot about statistics. That's been a lot of information thrown out there. But for Riverside County, here's the number: $168 million collected in child support.
Is that right?
That's a lot of money.
That
now,
is.
when you combine that with the reality that 17% of Riverside County families have an income below the federal poverty level, here's what you want to start thinking about. When this money is distributed to families, think about where that money then goes, to see the larger picture of the impact that the child support program has on the county and its residents. You send that money out to a family, they go buy groceries with it. Just as an example, they're putting gas in their cars. Those businesses are then using that money to pay the salaries of their staff. There is a positive cycle that is benefiting the economy of our county through the work that we do. But again, it's not us, it's the parents who are paying the support. So without this program, there's so much that would be lost in the county, and it really is just an essential service, and I hope people see how important it is.
And that's such a fascinating aspect of how child support impacts not just children and families, but it impacts communities as well. Okay, Nathan, so we've thrown out a lot of numbers here today.
It has been a lot.
And what I'd like to do is step back a little bit and maybe talk about what the Department of Child Support Services does for the community. Not in terms of statistics or figures, money, but how do we positively impact our community?
I think one of the best ways that we do that is through just being present and available to the community in different ways at different locations and to meet different needs. So for example, employers. People may not always think about child support services and our connection to employers in the local community, but we spend time actually communicating with employers, holding workshops to invite them to our location so that payroll departments know all the limitations, the rules, the responsibilities that they have in connection to parents who are paying child support to make sure they're not taking too much money out of someone's paycheck, to make sure that they're taking it out timely, to make sure they know where to send it. So we're there and available and present with them to answer questions and just be an available resource to them. So that's one example.
And this is an important example for all the employers out there who might be listening to this podcast. We are not only open to answering questions to our customers, but we are always open to answering questions and helping out our employers.
Absolutely. And so thinking about answering questions, there's some other ways that we do this to try to be present and available in our community. One of those is by being open the second Saturday of every month in both our Riverside and our Indio office. So we're open 8 a.m. to noon. We have regular Saturday hours, as stated, the second Saturday of every month. So for those who work Monday through Friday, they have a traditional schedule. It's really difficult for them to get here and meet with us in person on another day. We try to be available and meet their needs where they are at.
And that makes a big difference for the people who work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and just cannot get in here.
We also visit a number of city libraries. A couple examples that come to mind is Temecula Library and the Hemet Library in Val Vista. We go out there on certain days just to be there, and we actually have the equipment needed. Child support case managers are there. We can look up case-specific information and talk to our customers, and that might be much more convenient for them rather than traveling a distance. So we try to meet those practical needs and say, if it's hard for you to come in, if you really don't want to have to call on the phone, here's a way that we can get to you rather than asking you to come to us. And those details are on our website. There's an event calendar that lists all the different places that we go in the county, and that includes those library opportunities.
And let's talk about the collaborations we do in Riverside County with other agencies. For example, we work with Workforce Development, we work with the Department of Social Services, we work with the Family Law Facilitator's Office. We really have a lot of partners in Riverside County who help us assist our customers.
We do, and a lot of those partners we actually cross over in our customer base. So many of those places that you just mentioned, we have a shared customer. So customers with child support might also need the help and the support of workforce development to build a resume, to find job opportunities, to learn how to interview. I even think about the Department of Public Social Services, DPSS, providing public assistance benefits, Medi-Cal, food stamps. We have a shared customer base with them, and one of the great things about the way child support services assist the community is that we can be an alternative to public assistance. So the idea is that we can help families be self-sufficient by collecting child support that is due and getting that out to the families, and maybe those public assistance benefits are no longer needed.
That's a great point. That's a really good point. And I have one too that I'd like to throw in there, and that is the sort of partnership that we have with our courts. Now, I think in a past episode we talked about the separation of powers and the different branches and how one can't influence the other. But really, the court and the Department of Child Support Services have a really good partnership, and that is we handle a lot of cases that are set for court hearing through the Department of Child Support Services. We work with our customers to try to get agreements, to try to avoid having our customers go before a commissioner. Now, by doing that, we reduce the caseload for the courts themselves.
Bruce, that's an excellent example of how we influence our community and other agencies. So when I'm thinking about all this, and I kind of go back to the beginning of the episode, there's so much more than just dollars collected in how the child support program influences and serves our community, the impact that we have. We cover number of children served. We have talked about the dollars collected. We've talked about poverty and the role that we play in helping families to get out of poverty. We've talked about our presence in the community, the court, being present for outreach events at the library. There's so many things that we do and so many places that we are available to our customers that just kind of shine a spotlight on how important the services are that we provide. But again, I want to emphasize, really, who gets the credit for all this are the parents that are paying the support. We are simply a facilitator of those payments.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the parents who deserve the credit here. And hopefully this episode has, as you said, shown some light on the scope of what the Department of Child Support Services does and how we can better serve the public.
Absolutely. So I think that brings us to a close of our episode number 4. So, Bruce, my coffee cup is now empty.
And so is mine.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. We will see you next time. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast. Check us out at riversidechildsupport.com. And if you need to call us, you can reach us at 866-901-3212. Our office hours are listed on our website. We are open the second Saturday of every month with limited availability at additional locations found on our event calendar. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for the latest happenings at Riverside County Child Support Services. And don't forget to check the podcast notes for specific topics discussed throughout today's episode.